This is a BSL video of the Access to Literature report by Jamie Hale, Artistic Director of CRIPtic Arts, and Ruth Harrison, Director of Spread the Word. It covers the recommendations, conclusion, about, acknowledgements, resources parts of the report. The other report BSL videos can be found at https://www.spreadtheword.org.uk/projects/cript-rights-x-the-word. The Access to Literature report is supported from public funds by Arts Council England. 6. Recommendations. I need someone to help me navigate the publishing world. To be honest, a publisher gave me a book contract and I didn't sign because it was too daunting. And I got an agent, but they gave up on me. Then I gave up. Going to try again, but honestly, as a working class disabled person with no formal education who has never had a job, it's like asking me to climb Everest with no training or equipment. Writers Survey respondent. This early stage research shows that deaf and disabled writers, creative producers, and audiences are fundamentally excluded from the literature and publishing sectors. Both strategic and organisational level interventions and actions are needed, which recognise the systemic access and disabilist barriers faced by deaf and disabled people to bring about systems change. There is a need for the not-for-profit literature and publishing sectors and funders to work collaboratively with deaf and disabled people to dismantle barriers by providing structured investment into further research, sustained opportunities for deaf and disabled writers, creative producers, and audiences in information, advice and guidance resources. From our experiences in the wider sector, it is clear literature organisations and publishers are in breach of legal obligations under the Equalities Act to make reasonable adjustments in an anticipatory manner. There is an immediate need for them to ensure they understand their obligations and put access and disabled-led code production at the heart of their work. Therefore, we have produced 2 sets of recommendations, one looking at the practical steps that literature organisations can take in their own organisations, both internally and through co-production with deaf and disabled writers, creative producers, and audiences. In this, we have considered low, mid, and higher resource interventions. The second looks across the sector to consider the systems that need to change so that literature is inclusive to deaf and disabled people. These recommendations draw on both the Access to Literature research and from CRIPtic Arts and Spread the Word's experiences of modelling what good access provision looks like by running literature events and designing development opportunities for deaf and disabled writers. A. Audit, engage, and act. Audit. Make accessibility more of a default, rather than the more usual contact us if you have access needs. Writers Survey respondent. Audit your organisation to provide internal research and analysis on representation and access to assess current access and equalities policies, number of deaf and disabled people at all levels of your organisation, including staff, trustees, freelancers, artists, volunteers, level of budget given to assess provisions in existing organisational budgets and funding applications, accessibility of processes, for example, contracting, commissioning, payments, communication, meetings, planning, timeframes, bookings, evaluation, accessibility of spaces, venues and online platforms you use to deliver your work and work with partners, and accessibility of your content, formats and forms. Engage. Build an accessible practice group made up of committed representatives from a range of organisations, plus representatives from the deaf and disabled communities, to share good practice and educate themselves on what is needed and how to achieve it, and listen properly. Writers Survey Respondent. Take a deaf and disabled-led co-production and whole organisation approach, and committing to being clear about your intent with your organisational approach to access. Involve deaf and disabled people in your audit and the findings of your audit. Create processes to ensure you are actively listening to deaf and disabled people on the ongoing basis about their experience of engaging with your organisation as writers, creative producers and audience members, paying them for their time. Build partnerships and connections with disabled-led organisations. Make a public commitment and statement on your approach to access and the provisions you can make, clearly stating what you are and are not providing. Provide events, workshops and opportunities online, in person and hybrid. Deaf and disabled people with clear information on the access provisions you have in place for each event, workshop, opportunity or product. Deaf and disabled people, the means that communicate their needs to you, for example through an access rider, to ensure reasonable adjustments can be made. Flexibility on your booking processes, for example, providing space for two carers, to provide an individual need rather than a tick box approach to access. Accessible application processes for opportunities, for example, video applications, including in BSL, audio, questions in advance. Content in accessible forms, for example, BSL, large font. Provide a clear, named lead for access and their contact information. Act. Can we actually have more dedicated organisations devoted to this? At present, there aren't enough. More of us, more pressure we can bring to bear on authorities, and more of us can enjoy literary and literature organisations. Events. Writers Survey Respondent. Put in place sustained, accessible and representative literature activity. Search for deaf and disabled writers and creative producers through social media and connecting with disabled-led organisations and networks. Employ deaf and disabled writers and creative producers across your work as, for example, facilitators, readers, performers, speakers, organisers, staff members, etc. Run disabled-led commissioning and development opportunities for deaf and disabled people. Communicate your access expectations to the non-disabled writers, creative producers and partners you work with, which they need to adhere to. Ensure access provisions and disabled-led co-production work are provided for across your budgets, for example, projects, communications, programming, training, and included in any funding application budget or commissioning budgets within partners. Invest in deaf and disabled people as employees. Invest in disabled-led training on disability and requirements for staff, trustees, non-disabled freelancers, artists, and volunteers. Work with experienced disabled access consultants and consultancy organisations to understand how to effectively embed access within single projects and across your whole organisation. B. Systems change across the sector. Don't expect people to come to you without demonstrating seriousness of wish to engage with our community or communities. Writers Survey Respondent. Developing a charter for change committing to structured investment to dismantle the barriers disabled writers, creative producers and audiences face through convening collaborative conversations between deaf and disabled people representatives from the literature and publishing sectors and funders to inform and identify current barriers and co-producing potential solutions. Investing in further deaf and disabled-led research into the not-for-profit literature and publishing sectors to establish a comprehensive evidence base on delivering access provisions, the need for minimum standards, funding arrangements, access opportunities, and emerging best practice. Deaf and disabled people's needs, intersectionality, and experience of engaging with literature as an audience member and as a writer, creative producer, progressing their creative careers. Anyone getting any funding should have to tie in disability-based accessibility. Retreat participant. Supporting the literature and publishing sectors to make change by investing in a free and accessible research resource and campaign, similar to Arts Council England's environmental programme with Julie's Bicycle, led by deaf and disabled people to increase knowledge and awareness and drive impacts and action, including, but not limited to, information, advice and guidance on legal requirements on providing access provisions, co-production, communication, funding, budgeting for access, and minimum standards of access for organisations with a wide range of budgets. Foregrounding best practice in the sector. Support from experienced disabled access consultants and consultancy organisations in understanding how to effectively embed access not just within single projects, but across organisations. Training deaf and disabled people in the skills, experience, and sector knowledge to work as expert access consultants for the literature and publishing sectors. Collaborative networks, leadership, and peer exchange. Collaborative events and workshops. The biggest publishers have the greatest ability to nurture disabled writers in a holistic way on earning a living as a writer. I'd love to see such a thing, specifically for disabled people, run a couple of times a year where more people are supported. Writers' Survey respondent. Setting a target of 20% of published writers and literature sector employees being deaf or disabled by 2030. Committing to working in partnership with literature organisations, investing sustained time and funding over 3 to 5 years to develop and run learning and development programmes for deaf and disabled writers to achieve these targets, which offer accessible and targeted outreach to deaf and disabled writers, including in British Sign Language, equip deaf and disabled writers with the skills and knowledge to work within the industry, equip industry organisations with the skills and knowledge to work with deaf and disabled writers, build and nurture deaf and disabled writers in a long-term manner. Conclusion. If we put access at the centre of how we work, I think we'd have a more resilient sector ultimately. Literature Organisations Focus Group Participant. Through access to literature, we have heard the voices of deaf and disabled writers, creative producers and audiences in the first national picture of the barriers they face in being able to participate in literature. Staff in literature organisations also presented the challenges of facilitating access provision. There was a shared agreement and understanding of the barriers from both perspectives. Key to progression in the literature sector is understanding how to embed access as the default across systems, processes, and work from events to development opportunities to content, but more broadly, how to engage deaf and disabled people through the process in paid roles that create a more representative diversity in organisations and the wider sector. The next stages will be to test the themes and recommendations that have emerged from this research with the sector, funders, and deaf and disabled people to open up a dialogue on how, collectively, we can bring about a more accessible and equitable literature sector for deaf and disabled writers, creative producers and audiences. About Jamie Hale. Jamie Hale is the Director of CRIPtic Arts, an artistic development organisation offering development and showcasing to deaf and disabled creatives and research-informed training to the wider industry. As well as leading creative and practical workshop and development opportunities for deaf and disabled writers, CRIPtic Arts is currently leading research projects exploring minimum access standards in the performance industries, meeting the access needs of performers with high physical access requirements, and on creating a tool to support deaf and disabled people to design their access rider. They have also led training cross-sector, working with organisations of all scales to improve their access provisions. Jamie is also an award-winning poet and one of the 2021 to 2022 Jerwood Poetry Fellows. Their debut poetry pamphlet, Shield, was published by Verve Poetry Press, and their first solo show, Not Dying, won the Evening Standard Future Theatre Fund Award for Director Theatre Maker of the Year. They currently have a screenplay in development with Channel 4. Website https://crypticarts.org and https://jamiehale.co.uk. Twitter @CrypticArts and @Jamie R. Hale. Ruth Harrison. Ruth Harrison is the Director of Spread the Word, London's literature development agency. She has been Director of Apples and Snakes and Programme Manager at the Reading Agency. She leads on Spread the Word's strategic and artistic programme. Spread the Word has a national and international reputation for initiating change-making research and developing programmes for writers that have equity and social justice at their heart. Their research includes Writing the Future, Black and Asian Authors in the UK Marketplace by Danuta Keane and Mel Larson, 2015, and Rethinking Diversity in Publishing by Dr. Anamik Saha and Dr. Sandra Van Lent, in partnership with Words of Colour and The Bookseller, 2020. They run the London Writers' Awards for writers underrepresented in publishing, the Early Career Bursaries for London writers on a low income, the Welcome Collection and Spread the Word Writing Awards for Black, Asian and Global Majority and deaf and disabled non-fiction writers, the Deptford Literature Festival, celebrating Lewisham's creativity and diversity, City of Stories, with London libraries offering free creative writing workshops and events across London, and Runaways, with Ink, Sweat and Tears and the University of Glasgow. Website https://www.spreadtheword.org.uk. Twitter @STW Acknowledgements. CRIPtic Arts and Spread the Word would like to thank the following: Arts Council England for supporting the Access to Literature research and report, all the deaf and disabled writers who participated in the retreat, all the deaf and disabled writers, creative producers and audience members and literature organisations who responded to the surveys and participated in the focus groups. The retreat's guest artists: Julie Farrell, Alia Gulamani, Matilda Ibini, Stephen Lightbrown, Elle McNicol, Nadia Nadaraja, and Omakemi. The retreat's BSL interpreters: Amy Hayward, Jemima Hoadley, and Michelle Woods. The retreats and external focus group facilitators, Daniel Sluman and Vicky Rerford-Sinnott. The Spread the Word and Cryptic Arts teams, especially Aurelie Koulibaly, Laura Kenwright, Caitlin Richards, and Natasha Rowe. Resources. This is a short list of resources to support literature organisations and publishers to start developing their approach to providing access and be active in thinking about the ways they can meet people where they are at. We shall not be removed. 7 inclusive principles for arts and cultural organisations. https://www.weshallnotberemoved.com/7-principles. Shape Arts, Social Model of Disability. https://www.shapearts.org.uk/news/social-model-of-disability. Being Hybrid Guide, a cheap and easy practical guide to running hybrid events, Cryptic Arts and Spread the Word. https://crypticarts.org/being-hybrid-short-guide. Society of Authors, Authors with Disabilities and Chronic Illnesses. How to create an accessible writers group. https://how-to-how-accessible-writing-group. Inclusion Guide to Making Literature Events Accessible for Disabled People. https://www.inclusionguide.org. Disability Arts Online. https://disabilityarts.online. Coventry UK City of Culture 2021 Access Policy. https://coventry2021.co.uk/access. An access for arts and culture organisations. https://coventry2021.co.uk/explore/access-for-arts-and-cultural-organisers. Not going back to normal. https://www.notgoingbacktonormal.com/introduction.